biggest issue, and I'm sure everybody would agree, along with myself, is immigration. And I'm sure everybody would agree with that. A few years ago, we would have been called far right extremists. But it is the truth, it is the biggest issue. You see the amount of people who were taken in as a small country with only 5 million people. It's insane to see the big increase in the population, and not even that. It puts pressure on resources that are already stretched. Take, for example, the HSE. Housing is a great example. Because eventually these people want to own a house, etc. So when Irish people can't own a house or buy a house or rent a house, etc., etc. And Irish people have to leave in their droves. So it generally is the biggest issue, and it's something that we have to address and something we have to deal with. We need to control immigration. We shouldn't have really at this stage what's happening. Everybody's turning up from Timbuktu, etc., etc., from safe countries in Africa, etc., etc. There is dangerous countries. There is dangerous countries where Afghanistan, for example, understandable. But there's people turning up from Algeria, Albania, etc., etc. The people they shouldn't really be turning up as asylum seekers because there's no war. Economic. Obviously, it's becoming an economic reasons, but there's no trouble in Albania or Algeria. It's more, in Afghanistan, etc. That makes sense. I'm sure I would agree with that. But this is the thing. It is the biggest issue, and it should be the biggest issue. Because all the political parties now, a few months ago, were calling everybody racist if you utter a word. And up and down the left part of the country, every town, every village, has been basically people been busted in the middle of the night. And then obviously you've seen communities, you've seen many times across the country, Newtown, Mike Kennedy, for example. There's hundreds of other examples I can go into where the local people didn't want them being put in. And again, at the end of the day, the local people have the authority to say what happens in their area. And that's the simple stuff. That's the same with any community development plan. Usually there's engagement with the community, etc., etc., and what they take. Because at the end of the day, they live in that community, it's up to them to decide. And the fact that the Taoiseach said nobody has a veto on who lives there. We take, for example, the Labour leader of Anna Patrick. In her area, there was a few people with Teds and she nearly lost the plot when a few of them went up with Teds into the local park. There was about 50 Gardaí turned up. So very welcome there. But no, my point in the matter is that people should have a veto because at the end of the day, it's your community. You have a right. You bought your house, you rent your house there. You have a right to say what happens to your community. If it's either a community pitch or something like that, you have the right. You have a right to veto. It's the same with any planning permission. I could object to somebody's house now in the morning down the street because it's in my view or whatever. You're entitled to it, basically. You have a right to veto. But long story short, on a long tangent. So this is from many party leaders now are trying to come up. Obviously, Sinn Féin don't believe in any. They don't believe in any borders. To be totally honest with you. So there's Mary Lou McDonald saying something that could be considered far right a few weeks ago. Any person that's from another country that comes here to commit crime, etc., etc., should be deported. But the problem with this, and this is the thing she doesn't acknowledge, is in Ireland, a lot of deportation in Ireland and all that wouldn't carried out. But this is the thing, a lot of them are self-deportation. So basically you deport yourself. You voluntarily deport yourself, which you might say that's not too bad of an idea, but in the long term nobody's going to enforce it. Nobody's really going to check to see you're gone, so you could be still in the country and no one bat an eyelid. So that's what she's talking about, voluntary, which means nothing because the Gardaí will chase it up. And that's Mary Lou McDonald for you. That's Sinn Féin's had to do nothing about it. That's really it. And obviously Simon Howes is now saying that this is the particular reason why I'm making this video. It's because Simon Howes has come out and said, and only because the election we have to admit it, because he never would say anything any other time. But I do agree with this. If they do it, with Fine Gael, we all know that you couldn't trust them as far as you control it, but it should be the way. The way I go in life, and I'm sure many people have often heard me say it, you pay your way. And if you, in direct provision, take for example an accommodation owned by the state or in a hotel, you should pay for your hotel room if you have a job. Take for example, you have a job in a supermarket, take a full-time job in the supermarket, you earn around maybe €400 a week, give or take, 500 maybe, for the argument's sake. You should, contribute some of that to the state for the accommodation that you're in. It makes sense. It generally does make sense. When you have when you own your living, you should pay a bit of it. Now, I'm not saying give every penny of it. I'm not saying that, but at least give a few bob towards it, your accommodation. Because again, it's a huge expenditure on the state's coffers. We're talking about millions a day, nearly 10 million I think it was a day. Like, it's an insane amount of money when you really sit down and you really think about it. The amount of money that's spent is nearly, I think at this stage is nearly 3 or 4 billion. There's been said billion now, think about that. It's insane, it's a huge strain. It can't go on forever. That's the simple fact. It can't go on forever. And we have to acknowledge that, and we have to be reasonable about that, because we can't do everything forever. It can't happen. It's a huge strain, as we see. The amount of people here, it's insane numbers. If you said this 50 years ago, people would have laughed at you. But it's insane numbers, and it's not that we're racist or far right. It's the fact of the matter is, sooner or later, there'll be that many people here. Nobody will be able to be looked after because the population will be too big. We won't have the services to continue it, etc., etc. Not even to mention, as I say at the beginning of this video, so many Irish people, all my generation, people in their 20s, majority of people I knew in my class are considering or have gone to Australia, to New Zealand, because there's nothing here for them. They can't make a life. They can't even rent a house. They can't even buy a car here, let alone do anything in life, because they have everything in every block. They have blocks put in front of them to stop them from doing anything. So it doesn't make sense why we're bringing in everybody from Timbuktu, etc., etc., and Irish people going out. It doesn't make any sense. It generally really doesn't. I'm sure everybody agree. It doesn't make any sense. It generally doesn't. Why is everybody else coming in, and Irish people have to go abroad to Australia? And again, my whole generation is gone, really, in Holland. They're gone. There's half of the class. I'm sure if we're doing a class reunion now, my class, when I was in secondary school, the last year of secondary school, and we put out the invitations, I say nearly 90% of them are gone or considering going. And there'd be only about 5 of us there. That's the simple fact. There's no life for young people here. There's no life for any young person here, because the government fucks you over. You can't afford to buy a house. You can't afford to rent a house. You can't afford to have a car. You can't afford to do this. And then everybody else can come in from Timbuktu. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, let's put it that. It's not far right. It's not racist. It just doesn't make any sense. Why would you do that? Etc. etc. Look, I could go on, but I'm sure everybody agrees with me on that. That something they can't go on forever. As simple as that. It'd be different if it had an end date. Say we won't take in any more people after next week. Right, fair enough. Whoever else we let in, that's all we're letting in. That's grand. We have an end date. But it's the fact of the matter, there's no end date. It's just kick the can down the road. That's pretty much it. So let me know what you think. I know a lot of people would agree with me. Immigration is the biggest issue. So let me know. Thank you.